Okay, I'm in the middle of looking at all these photos. You might want to go back and listen to the last video just so you can get up to speed. But right now I'm on the truck and we're going to talk about the truck bed. So let's look at some pictures and let's look at some measurements because this has been a hot topic of conversation as well. This is the actual truck bed of Scott's filthy dirty truck. You can see that big green thing, right? That's like a big toolbox or storage box, and there's a bar that goes across to hold it in place. And you look right here, I questioned, was this enough space to store her body? And I had mentioned in an earlier video that if he wrapped her up in like a tarp, again, I don't mean to be morbid or too casual about this, but depending on the time she would have died, rigor mortis would have set in. So there would have been a stiffening to the body. So to fit back here, you'd have to almost have her in a little bit of a fetal position because neither of this is wide enough either side by side or this way to fit her long ways. Like if she was laying down, she couldn't fit either way in here. And this is how I know that. Okay, with that green storage box back there, you can see in the top picture, that arrow tells us that there is 3 feet, 5.5 inches of length for the rest of the truck. Okay, so she couldn't have laid long ways. Again, he would have had to have had her curled up somehow or scrunched up a little bit to fit long ways. Now here's another photo, and this long red line here, number 7, is that bar. That's the bar that holds the green box to the front end of the thing. So we're only talking about the space to the left of line number 7. Okay, so if you look at this and you look at line number 5 will tell you the measurement across the truck this way is 4 feet 10 inches. Lacey's taller than that, so no matter what, she'd have to be scrunched a little bit, right? But look at the difference. You see these little wheel things right here. You see these little wheel things right here. So this, where the arrow is, that's 4 feet. But these wheel things, according to the last photo, these are each 7 inches. So you can subtract 14 inches, a little over a foot. Now you're only talking between these two wheel things, it's only 3 feet 10 inches, or even less than that. So again, if she's in the truck bed, she's probably curled up. Now there is some conversation that was she put in the big green bin, but it sticks up higher than the truck bed. So Scott's a pretty tall guy, but the truck bed probably comes, let's just say the edge of the truck comes to his chest. He would have had to lift her up or put her into the truck and then lift her again. Yes, that's very possible. I think it's very possible. It's just not something I would do in the middle of the day in my driveway. So I guess, is he stupid? Is he audacious? Maybe he's both. And maybe he did all of this in the middle of the day in his own front yard. I do not know. Now, we also have measurements of the boat. The prosecution said she could actually have been placed in any of these 3 compartments. These 2 right here, right? So these two are about 2 feet, 2 inches. Okay, they're not super wide. This one back here is out of luck because this is where the motor is. And then there's another box back here that it contains like a battery or something else in it. So this is basically full. So it's got to be in this compartment, or the front compartment. Okay. But if you look 2.5 feet here, the front one is probably more logical. The front one is nearly 3 feet, but it also curves. So she'd have to be more in a fetal position. And by the way, this is an empty boat. Scott had a bunch of shit in his boat. Now, it is possible, again, that he took everything out of the boat, dumped it, went out with an empty boat with nothing but a body in it, and then when he came back, put all the stuff back in. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, so this is the front end of the boat. So you see here, this is the second person. This would be the passenger's chair that sits in the upper left-hand corner. It's got this big tarp. It's got a gas can and the oar. So this area, this was all in the boat when the police found the boat. So this is how they photographed it. This is the section directly behind it. So this would be the middle section of the boat. So here's the seat, right? You see the seat on the bench. This blue thing, I think, is like a floaty of some sort. I don't know if it's life jackets or something. There's an oar coming through. Here is the anchor that Scott said he made. And then here is a tackle box. I'm going to bring that up later, but here's Scott's tackle box that's in here. So again, if all of this was in the boat when he was going to the marina, her body would have been placed in here with all of these items. This one is Scott's seat. So this is the back one closest to him. So he would sit here, so his feet would be here. So the tire, again, I brought this up earlier. I would assume you'd chuck the tire out. That's just a spare, I think, for the trailer. But life jackets, fishing poles, the pliers. So all of this stuff would have been in here, and it's possible he cleared all this out and put her in here as well. I think we can all agree that the very backmost section is off limits because look, this is where his butt would be, and then this is the motor right here. This long pole is the motor. This is like a battery, and I don't know, someone who knows boats know what this is. I don't know, but this is pretty full here. And it's too narrow. You couldn't fit anybody back there. And by the way, I think this one and the one right in front of it, this would cause the weight to be really heavy, distributed in the back of the boat. So my thought is you would want to put the body further up toward the front. So this is the first photo of this woman from the prosecutor's office. Now, she's about Lacey's height, she's not pregnant, I don't think. I think they just kind of fattened her up, gave her a little bit of a belly with like some clothes or whatever. But this is her laying here. Now, I think this one is virtually impossible because Scott would be sitting on this seat controlling the motor, and having this right down at his feet would be difficult. Plus, I think when he stood up to try to get this out of the boat, I don't know that you could maneuver as easy, and I feel like this would have tipped the boat. So I don't think this is likely. And then if you look down below, this is where if you're looking straight on, you can see right here, you can see like her hip and her side sticking up. Now, again, if this is covered with a tarp, all anybody would see would be like a blue bump. But again, I think this is really inconvenient because this is where Scott would be. So I personally don't find that to be practical. You can argue with me if you want to. Now, this is what it looks like when she lays in the middle. And again, you see, I mean, she's in quite a fetal position. We were talking earlier about Lacey maybe being a little stretched out due to rigor mortis, right? It depends if he may have killed her standing up or laying down. I don't think she would have. I mean, maybe she would have. Maybe she would have curled up in a ball to protect herself or to protect Connor. I don't know. She could have very easily have died in this position and maybe stiffened in this position. But the idea is that she would probably be a little longer. And this is a really big knee to the chest for being pregnant. But I'm not a 5 foot tall pregnant person either. So I can't attest if this would be a possibility. Down here, you can see again, just barely, I mean, you can just barely see her denim jeans sticking up and a little bit of her hip sticking up. So it's very possible to fit a body here and have it barely noticeable with a tarp over it. Now, this is the third option. You put her in the very front of the boat. Now, here's the deal. There's more room width-wise, but it's narrower. So she's even more in a fetal position here. She's really curled up. This would actually be the best for weight distribution, and it would probably be the best if you then had to flip her overboard, right? I'm sorry if I'm sounding so terrible. Like, I don't mean this to sound really cold and calculating, but I'm just trying to get to the facts. So here she is here. And again, she's even more in a fetal position here, but this is the best place from a hiding perspective because you can't really see very much. I mean, it's just a little tiny bit of her shoulder and her arm sticking up here. So this is probably the best place to hide her, but probably from a get up and move around the boat and dump her over. I don't know if this works or not. Someone who's a fisherman, tell me. I have one more video that I'm going to make that's going to include screenshots of the internet searches, the marina, and the lures. So come back for that.